The Career Trail. Your success journey begins here.
Last week, we introduced the 7th episode of the Career Trail, diving into the early life of Ghana's legendary actor and entrepreneur, Kweku Sintim Misa.
There is nothing like a dull topic. The only thing you can have is a dull presenter.
Stay glued to your TV set as we explore the second part of the interview, focusing on his journey as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever witnessed a writer's block talking about you?
Oh yeah, plenty.
And then how do you bounce back?
Plenty. For those who are starting your career in writing, writer's block is when you sit down to write and the ideas don't come. Or you get some major ideas, you're very excited about it, you sit down to write, they all get lost. It's called the writer's block. I go through it all the time. But here's the trick. When you get a writer's block and you're not getting any idea, just write. Write anything.
That comes to mind.
That's come to mind. Just keep writing. Write anything that comes to mind, you know. And in the act of your reckless writing, just having fun, something will click, and then you connect, and then you realize that you get back into the ideas that you're thinking of, and then you can take it from there. It's not easy. It took long years of practice to realize that when you get a block, don't give up. Don't throw your hands. The block will happen even to the greatest of writers. Sometimes they get a block. Mm-hmm. But when you get a writer's block, keep writing. Don't stop. You know. And for those who are coming up and they want to be writers, treat writing as a profession. Okay? You know, decide that every day from 1 to 2, I'm writing. My phone is off, blah, blah, blah. Nothing comes from this time to this time because I'm writing. Treat it like a profession and you'll be amazed the mileage you make. But people don't even take writing serious. Even those who call themselves writers, they write a little bit, they stop, write a little bit, they stop, you know. So they don't sustain their writing creativity. Treat it as a profession. Give yourself time, and that time when it comes, sit down and write. Even if it's nothing, write anything. If you don't remember anything to write, just write about my first day in class 1. Anything that comes to your mind, you write it down. The idea of writing is to keep you creative and to make sure that you can always create a story. You see, so once you do that, you keep your creative juices flowing.
Okay. Now, away from that, the big question. How did you get to the point where you became a radio and TV personality? What most people know you for?
I came to that point because I came to Ghana and I had done a film in the US called The Wages of Sin, which I did in the US, edited everything in the US and came to release in Ghana. And when I got to Ghana and I realized I have to put my film in my armpit and go from Ho to Sunyani to go and show my own friends, oh Charlie, this thing doesn't work for me. Back in the day, you know. So I wasn't interested in doing film at the time. And I got into radio by accident. You know, I like talk radio. Talk radio is like one of my favorite things. If it's intelligent talk or funny talk, anything talk radio I like. So when I was in the US, there was this particular talk station that I was always listening to. I loved it. From my house to the car to wherever, I was always tuning to talk radio. So when I came to Ghana and I wasn't getting too much luck with the film thing, radio had just started. Joy FM was then the only private radio station that was operating.
In Ghana?
In Ghana, yeah. Apart from the regular GBC, whatever. Joy FM was the first private one that was operating. Then came Radio I, then they came other stations, you know. And then they came Vibe, another station, you know. And when I came, I overheard that Vibe FM is looking for programs. I said, oh, really? So I went to Vibe FM. I just got there and I wanted to see the manager because I want to do a radio program. You know, hey, you know. So they introduced me to the manager. His name is Michael Cook. And he asked me, have you done radio before? And I lied. I've never done radio. All I did was listen to talk shows. So I lied and I said, oh yeah, I was doing talk shows when I was in New York. And then his face lit up. Oh, wow. Ghanaians, please, I'm not encouraging the youth to go out there and lie. Oh. But, you know, I just said I was doing talk radio in New York.
But why do you think you lied?
Why?
Yeah.
I wanted the job. And there's no way I can just walk in and say, put me on radio. Maybe they would have done it, but I didn't think so. I wanted them to feel that if they let me go, they've lost, you know. And that was a big risk. And people out there, the youth listening to me, it's not a risk that I will encourage you to go and take. Unless you know you can deliver.
Okay.
You know, if you know you can deliver, they ask you, can you do it? You can tell them, yeah.
But what if they ask for proof?
That I've done radio before.
During your time, they didn't ask for proof.
That I've done radio before.
Yeah, because now when we are writing our
Now,
CV.
yeah, now there are so many radio stations. If you come and tell me, KSM, I'm a talk show host, you have to tell me the radio station. Because there are so many of them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can easily verify. But back in the day, it had just started coming up. You know, and I just said I've come from the US and I used to do talk radio. What are you going to do? Call the radio station in New York? You know, so I'm not encouraging people to lie.
Exactly.
Please, I want them to understand that.
Okay.
But I was so confident I can deliver because I was always listening to talk radio, you know.
Okay.
So he asked me a question and he says, what do I think generally about radio presenters? Because I wanted to be a presenter.
Okay.
And I said that there is nothing like a dull topic. The only thing you can have is a dull presenter. In actual fact, what I was saying was that if you have a presenter that is dynamic, they can even talk about paper bags and you'll be excited about it. So it's not the topic that they are talking about that is boring, but the presenter that is talking about it that will make it boring. And for some reason, when I said this thing, that really convinced the guy.
And gave you the job.
Yeah, he gave me the job. Later on, he became a guest on my show.
Wow.
Yes. He was a guest on my show, and I told him, are you aware that you are the first person that gave me a job when I came to Ghana? And he was like, really? I said, yes. You were the first radio station that gave me a job when I came to Ghana. And then he then told me the reason you got the job was because when you told me there's nothing like a dull presenter, but there's nothing like a dull topic, but there's dull presenters. That's why I give you the job, you know.
Wow.
So I guess that's how I got into radio. I just realized that the film thing was not what I imagined, so let me branch. And being somebody that talks a lot, that debates a lot, that loves it, I figured I could do talk radio, and my first show was a hit.
Which show was that?
The program was called Talk Shop. And the first show I did, I talked about the history of Ghana, but it was such a big hit. Back in the day, Ebo White used to, you know Ebo White, Uncle Ebo White? Yeah. Right. Ebo White told me that he was a salesperson. And so every time he was filling out his sales request forms to go outside the office, he would put down Tuesday at 10 to 12, I'll be outside the office because I have to do sales. And he says it because he wanted to be in his car listening to my program. That was the effect of my program.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was new in Ghana then.
Yeah.
It was very, very new. Not that I was the first to do a talk show, but there were talk shows like, there was one called Front Page on Joy FM.
Okay.
You know.
Right.
So the people were doing it, but I took mine to a very different
level.
Crazy level. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So at what point did you introduce the KSM show?
After I'd been a while on TV.
Oh, okay. So after radio, you went on TV.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about that.
It was, I started with film, then I went to radio, and I went to TV. And I went to TV because I always wanted to host a late night show on television. I was at the same way I was addicted to talk shows in the US. I was also addicted to late night shows where the host will come and do jokes and then do the interviews and everything. And even before I went to the US, there was one guy doing it in Ghana. He's a nice old man now. He's in his 80s. It's called Mike Egan.
Oh, okay.
Mike Egan had a show called The Mike Egan Show, and it was amazing. I fell in love with The Mike Egan Show. So even when I went to the US and they were having their own professionals doing their late night shows, I kept saying, oh, Ghana, we also have one guy called Mike Egan, blah, blah, blah. So when I came to Ghana, I still had that in me, But it wasn't until I met Talal Fatal, who was then the owner of Metro TV.
Oh, okay.
Who came to the National Theatre to see one of my shows, So we became friends after he came to see the show. And in one of the discussions, he was telling me about thinking about introducing that kind of late night talk show program on Metro TV. Then again, I said, I think I can do it,
Wow.
And I was so confident. So we came up with the idea and we worked a lot on it. We called that show, when it started, we called it Thank God It's Friday. And that too became easily the most popular program on TV then, when we started Thank God It's Friday. So from radio, I was still doing radio.
Oh, you were doing radio on the side?
Yeah, I was still doing radio on Vibe, and then I was doing Thank God on Friday on TV. So I was doing the two back to back for a long time until I finally gave up the radio and stayed on TV.
TV. What was your reason?
For giving up radio?
Yeah.
No particular reason. I just found that TV, Thank God It's Friday, more engaging, more fun, and there was also taking more time. So I said, why don't I just concentrate on this? So that's why I gave up radio and then switched to TV.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which year was that? Do you remember how many years it's been?
I started Thank God It's Friday maybe before you were born. Thank God It's Friday was started in 2002.
I was born by then.
You were born?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
The first edition was in February 2002.
Okay.
And then after a while, the same show, I rebranded it and called it the KSM Show.
Oh, okay.
So the KSM Show, those who go way back knew it to have been Thank God It's Friday. But I rebranded it to become the KSM Show. And it's still on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
From that time, 2002 to now.
Yeah, from 2002. I'm on a break now, but basically from 2002 to 2025, I don't know how many years.
That's like 23 years.
Yeah, it's still on there. And I actually have some TV stations. I'm on break now. Mm-hmm. Some TV stations say, oh, when you come back after the break, can we take the show? I'm like, really? I didn't know you still had the interest in It's been on there 23 years, so that's it, And since it's a career thing too, let me add this in.
Okay.
That for any career that you want to get into, one of the success features is longevity. Because how long you've stayed on doing the show and how relevant it has become is a test of your ability in whatever you're doing, whether it's medicine, architecture, whatever it is you're doing, if you're able to do it for a prolonged time and it still has the elements that people find relevant, then you have succeeded in doing something.
Because you are talking about longevity, one would ask, what makes you unique? What do you think keeps you moving?
Very good question. Very good question. I think there's this word, relatable. People find it relatable. I can host a young up-and-coming, or maybe you are experienced, but I can hook a young person like you with your show and career thing, and we'll have fun, and you can I'll make you so comfortable, And then from you, the next guest is maybe the vice president, the way we'll hang out. I think I have that magic of relating to people where they are and making them comfortable enough to deal with me and tell me all kinds of things, So I think, to answer your question, what has my particular reason been for staying this long is, I guess, my guests and my audience find me relatable for some reason.
That's true.
Some hate my guts too, but that's life.
Okay. But there is one question I want to ask.
Yeah.
You started on stage, came to radio. The transition. Stage, we are seeing you. Radio, you are behind. We are listening to your voice. And on TV, we are seeing you. How do you balance all these? Because sometimes you realize that when someone is on radio for long, it kind of affects how he or she presents on TV. You see the radio element. How do you do yours? How are you able to do these things?
I've never thought about why or how, but I'll give you a very simple answer. I say, I guess it's a talent, And I know that the medium of television is so different from the medium of radio. Radio, the program I was doing back in the day was called Talk Shop. Nobody was seeing me, but I had to make it two things. Number one, it must be captivating enough to get your attention. That's the first thing. Get the attention of the viewers or the listeners. And once you get the attention, what do you do with it? You sustain the attention. So that has worked, whether it's stage work I'm doing one man or radio or TV, I have to get the attention of the audience. And once I can get the attention, I have to sustain that. So you have to come up with ways, how do you get the attention of the audience? Sometimes on TV, maybe the guest. The guest is so profound that when he comes, people want to see him, So the guest is a figure there. If the guest is not exciting, then it goes back to when I say there's nothing like a dull topic. The presenter has to be exciting. I've interviewed some people that I know I was working so hard because they were so boring, So to get it going, I have to overwork and create whatever. So I think it's a combination, and I think it's all parts of learning how to communicate. It's all part of the communication game that the TV, every time I'm on TV, I put myself in the shoes of those who are watching the show. So when a guest is boring me, I'm like, oh my God, this guy is boring my viewers. They have to do something, either to pep him up or something, Yeah. And the show, the KSM show and the Thank God It's Friday, I'm going to give you a secret I've never said before, and people will come and sue me for that. There were times I've done the show, during the show, I just felt I was working so hard because I'm not getting excitement from the guest, When everything is edited and I watch this thing, I say, no, this will bore my audience to death. So I find a reason to tell a guest, for some reason, there was some technical issue, so
You will not show.
I won't show it. So guest that your show didn't come on, you can come and sue me. My medicity me. My kind of crap question. I mean, come be other. If I don't air your show, chances are that maybe it was that bad. That even I thought I'm an exciting presenter, I couldn't do anything about it. Why am I going to bore the people?
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Granted, there may be shows that people have watched and say, okay, so show with the name boring, papa. But so I can't impress everybody all the time. There are shows that have gone out that were not as exciting. But generally, so if I don't show yours, you can tell the level of how unexciting it was for me to hold on to it.
Wow. Okay. KSM, you are one of the people who, started talk about important issues, social issues, but you kind of add entertainment to it and all that. One would ask, looking at how you have, unfiltered dialogue on TV, radio, have you ever faced media attacks?
Surprisingly, no.
Never.
No, I've know that people who probably would have expressed that I didn't do well here or something like that randomly, but as a concerted attack on KSM or what I've done, I've never experienced it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've never experienced it. I don't know why, but I've never experienced it, you know. I mean, I've suffered politically for it in many cases, you know.
Yeah.
I suffered for it because when radio was becoming gradually growing in Ghana, and the radio and the politics, they wanted to make sure they understand your politics before they give you a frequency. And for me, they couldn't find out what my politics were, you know. So a frequency would be given to me and then taken away from me because they didn't understand why somebody like me get a frequency. Another government would come and then give me the frequency and then taken away. So you suffer for it. Let me add that. But I haven't seen any concerted attack on anything I've done or said.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's interesting. So now let's talk about some of your memorable moments on, you know, as being a media personality. Yeah.
The memorable moments I have on TV, maybe people I've talked to, and the kind of energy they brought to the show, and the impact, more importantly, it had on the viewers, you know.
Okay.
I still talk about Farida. Farida was my guest. This is a lady who has a cerebral palsy, you know, severe cerebral palsy. She was one of my guests, and she was fantastic, you know. So these are moments like that. Farida was, to date, one of the best shows I've ever had, you know. And I think when I was doing the Thank God It's Friday, there was this old woman that somebody brought her from, was it Somenya? I don't remember where. She was somewhere in the hundreds, but she was still very bubbly, you know, and she challenged me to a dance on my show, and I danced with her. And that was like one of the fantastic shows I've ever done. Little incidents like that, you know.
Okay.
It's what gets my show going, you know. Not anything major, dramatic, but little things, you know. Yeah.
Okay. But looking at today's world, you know, social media is now ruling. One would ask, does radio and TV still have the power to reshape, you know, public discourse?
Radio and TV.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, everything they're doing on radio or TV is also online on social media.
Okay.
So they have merged into one. I think the social media has been a very disruptive evolution in things, you know. The social media has come to disrupt the TV, conventional TV, conventional radio. So you can't afford to be on TV now doing a very solid show that doesn't have any online presence. You lose out. So I think, yes, social media has proven itself to be a very, very, very strong force, to the point that if you're on TV or radio and you don't have a link or connection with social media, you lose out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You've talked about some of your memorable moments. One will ask, what are some of the challenges you face? The major challenges.
Major challenges I face? Oh, man. There was one I started performing, and I booked a theater in New York City long ago. I was performing in New York City. I didn't have the money to pay the crew and everything. So can you imagine, I wrote the show myself. I was performing at first. This is a show called, the one I talked about, Thoughts of a Confused Black Man. The first time I opened in a very, very dingy theater. I think it seats about maybe 60 people. Very, very dingy. Even their bathrooms were dirty and things like that, but that's what I could afford. And so I wrote the show, I performed in the dingy theater, and I did the lighting myself. Ask me how.
How?
Yes, thank you. You know, I'll be backstage, and then I'll turn the lights on, and then I come on stage to perform. And the thing is that I die at the end of this show. And when I die, the stage lights should go off.
So how did you do that?
Thank you. That was one of the most difficult things I did. I have to get the electrician to do some rewiring, and then we made a connection to where I die, where I fall, just by a switch. That when you are sitting in the audience, you won't know that there's a switch there, So after the show, when I fall down and I die, then slowly I dim the lights. Tell me that's not a challenge.
Interesting. It is a challenge, but it's very interesting.
Very interesting challenge, yeah. But those were some of the things, And I'm glad you're saying it's very interesting, because that's how I see challenges, interesting things. They're just interesting opportunities that come for me,
Okay.
And I have to meet them, So I don't see anything as a challenge. Whatever I consider as a challenge is something I can't fix or I can't do anything about. But most likely that when I see something, no matter what, no matter how, I'll find a way around it to get around it. So I see challenges that are interesting, then I fix them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you are doing so well, or you are still doing so well. In fact, we are talking about present, so you are doing so well. When it comes to media, you are there. When it comes to acting, you are there. Production, you are there. One would ask, why did you go into business?
Well, the business that I have now is running a beautiful hotel. You haven't been there. You have to make time. All of you have to come to Cactus Creek. Give me a date you are coming. I'll host you there.
Wow.
Yeah, Cactus Creek. And why did I go into business? I've done everything, My wife, too, is a very, very outstanding telecommunications expert. And she's also done a lot. She's worked with the World Bank. And she was the first person in Ghana to do a telecom conference in Africa. She started that,
Okay.
Even Malawi and other countries called can you bring it here, and things like that. But anyway, needless to say, I and her, when we got into our 60s and we are now good old parents with grandchildren, we still wanted something challenging to do, So about 6-7 years ago, we got some land at Taburi, and we said, why don't we build a hotel? And that's how it started, So gradually, it started from a hotel that was just like 9 rooms, because we were going to do some Airbnb kind of thing, and then people were coming and they were loving it. We started expanding this here and there. Now we have up to 20 rooms. We have a pool. We have 2 conference rooms. The next multimedia conference you're having, please call me and come and take it at the Cactus Creek.
We will.
And bring your presenters there and come and hang out, So yeah, that's why we went into business, because we figured we've worked quite a bit. We've saved quite a bit. What do we do in the investment? Let's invest in the hotel.
Okay.
So that's how the hotel investment came about. But now it's bigger than us. So we have people who are managing it now and running it very, very well for us. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what are some of the business challenges, just in case someone wants to also start hotel, what they should expect, and then how to bounce back when you experience
business challenges in Ghana can be very, very, very depressing.
Okay.
Oh, man. It's like the GRA will come today and they'll deal with you just as they're leaving. Then VAT comes and they will deal with you. You answer all the questions the best you can. They will still find certain things that you could have done and didn't do. And it's, for me, I think there should also be incentives. We are now in an age where we want young people like you to get into business. Start your businesses. Most of you, I'm sure, have your own little gigs on the side. What you need is a system that supports you, that encourages you. Oh, you have started this little thing? Okay, then let's go here. There's a consumer thing here that can give you some grant to do something. It helps you to set up. And once you set up and you're good and you're making money, taxes are going to the country. You're paying taxes, you're paying people and things. But the difficulty that they put, even before you can get there, will kill your business. Many businesses start and they shut down after a while because they can't. There are several reasons for that.
Okay.
Some of them are people are just not understanding the business culture. So they don't even know the difference between what a capital is and what profit is. So when they get some small money, they think it's profit. Then they go and chop it. And they run their company down. Because when it gets to small money, it's not profit. Profit is when you break even, when you paid all your debts, whatever is left is a profit. So let me just say, many companies also fall through because they don't have the corporate professional thinking to set up, you know. But those who do have it also suffer a lot because some of these institutions come in and really are always on your back, and it's very difficult to grow your business sometimes, you know, in these kinds of climates. But other than that, like I said, it's a challenge. You have to summon the challenge and keep going, you know. So when you come to Cactus Creek as a guest, you will not think that anybody has any problem there, but there's no business without problems.
Okay. All right. On this note, I didn't come here alone. I have 3 questions for you from fans of KSM.
Okay.
I was coming on to interview KSM. They said they had questions to ask you.
Okay.
There were a lot, but I had to sample 3 out.
Okay.
So we'll take a break. When we come back, I'll ask you those
The
questions.
3 questions?
Yeah,
okay.
the 3 questions. All right.
I'm ready.
All right. So this is still the Career Trail on Joy Learning TV and JoyNews. You go for a quick breather. We'll be back with a question time segment.
The Career Trail. Your success journey begins here.
Welcome back from that quick breather. This is still the Career Trail with KSM. We have heard a lot about his journey. Now, if you are just tuning in, you can just go to our YouTube channel if you missed any part of the interview and then watch the interview. So this is the second part of the program where I get to ask him 3 questions from his fans. KSM, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. So let's take a look at the first question.
I'm Emanuela AJ, and my question to KSM is, there's a common belief that journalism doesn't pay well. Is it true? Would you still advise someone to pursue a career in journalism, given financial challenges some journalists face?
Okay. Honestly, if journalism is a talent of yours, it's something that you are passionate about, it's something that you can do effortlessly, then by all means, pursue it, because at the end of the day, it's going to pay off for you. You know, okay. We're all in Ghana where we saw Comrade Mo, who used to work at Joy FM, used to do the weather report from on a motorbike. He rose from there to become the first African international presenter on BBC. It was all journalism. So there's a path that when you follow with passion and devotion that you can get to. Unfortunately, in Ghana, sadly in Ghana, journalism has become politicized. Everything is politicized in this country. You know, are you an MPP journalist or an NDC journalist? And unfortunate things like that. This is the kind of thing that disrupt journalism. But to be a passionate journalist that is seeking to bring out the truth that community can benefit. Look at Erasmus Asari. Erasmus.
Yeah.
Asari. Look at the kinds of work he's doing. He's a journalist. It's amazing. You know, so I will no way and discourage somebody who said, oh, it doesn't make money, so don't go in. Don't make money the focus. Make the focus your ability to excel in what you're doing and do it well. And then it will pay off.
Let's take a look at the second question.
So my name is Lord Kofi Amoaben, and my question to KSM is this. At a point in time in media where most media houses tend to rely on sensational stories to help sell content, and in doing this, at most times, the credibility of journalism is at stake. So the question is, how do we balance sensational stories and, in the same regard, be able to maintain the credibility of journalism?
Very, 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 very great question indeed. You know, the problem that many journalists have had is that it's easier to go for the sensational. It's easier to do the gossip. It's easier to talk about the very petty, mediocre things that do not advance in the cause. It's easier. And so unfortunately for the rest of the public, there's an audience for that.
Okay.
there's an audience for that. So you have many bloggers who just go that way because they know that that's where they have their audience. The demand is for very mediocre things. Journalism has become cheapened and sensational and not factual, which is very, very, very sad. Unfortunately, because of the onslaught of online and social media, that's why I said there's disruption.
Okay.
You know, in order for journalists to compete, they think that they must also go that line in order to compete. But I'm telling you, if you make a conscious effort to set yourself aside and focus on the things that actually generate people to think and make an impact on society, you work. There's a guy, I think his name is Kobiche. He's a blogger.
Yeah, a blogger.
Yeah, and look at the kinds of blogs he puts out. Everything is meaningful.
Okay.
You know? So there's that too. So you make the choice and decide whether you do meaningful things or you go for the sensational.
Okay. Let's take a look at the last question.
My name is Irene Adubea Aning, and my question to KSM is, are there any sacrifices you've made in your journalism career that you regret?
No, I don't think I regret, you know. But yeah, there are sacrifices, you know, there are sacrifices that sometimes you go through. Sometimes production requirements dictate that you work some late hours that easily can affect family. There was a time that the date for my performance on stage was the 25th of December. Actually, the National Theatre will not put anything there on the 25th because it had been reserved for KSM. There was that time. So can you imagine, it's Christmas, the whole family wants to get together and have fun and everything. I'm preparing to do my show, you know. So these are some of the sacrifices that you do, and because you have a certain goal ahead in mind. But I don't think that there were any negative sacrifices that I regret, no. I'm glad that I had people who were around me that understood and were supportive. But I don't have anything I regret.
Okay. But I want to ask one last question and then we take a break. You know, when it comes to production, there is always a producer behind the scene, making sure that things that come on screen are good for the audience. Do you think producers are recognized as compared to, you know, the on-screen persons? Because now, the reason why I'm asking is that now we have people, especially when it comes to movie, we have people who are producers, but they want to also act. Do you think that, okay, it's because if they are behind the scenes, they are not really recognized, and that is why they want to, okay, do that too, so that they are behind the screens, but also people also see them on the screen?
Well, maybe in Ghana, not as much, but in other areas where they give awards for good work, they award producers, they award scriptwriters, they award editors, you know. You're right, in Ghana, it's all those who are in the front, you know, mostly, you know, but those who are behind are doing a whole lot of work. And every time I end my show at the National Theatre, when I used to perform, I said, I know it was just KSM you saw on the show, but if you know the amount of engine behind me, the people behind who worked, you'll be amazed. It's not a one-man show.
Oh, okay.
It's a whole team.
Oh, okay.
You know, so I agree. We have to really appreciate and respect the team that are behind us.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick breather. We'll be back with the last part where we get to give you a task to perform, and at the end of the day, we get to rate whether my guest passed or failed the task. This is still the Career Trail. Enjoy learning to be and JoyNews.
The Career Trail. Your success journey begins here.
Welcome back from that quick breather. This is still the Career Trail on Joy Learning TV and the JoyNews channel. This is the last aspect of the program where I get to have fun with my guests. KSM, are you ready for me?
Yes, please.
Okay, so today, will you permit me with this few, minute that I'm spending or hour that I'm spending with you to be your lecturer for the day? Am I permitted to do that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a task to perform. And at the end of the day, I get to rate whether you passed or failed my task. Do you think you're going to pass?
With flying colors.
What if you fail?
Your editors will have to edit it out.
All right. So when you pass my task, I'm going to raise the green card for you. When you fail the task, I get to raise the red card.
Okay.
Okay. So you get to pick one of the tasks.
Pick one.
Yeah. And you can open.
Oops. Well, that's
You can
so-
read it. Do you like your task? Okay, so can you read it out for audience to know what you picked?
The task is in 60 seconds, I should list 10 things you will find in the classroom.
Okay, so can we start? That's easy, right?
Yeah, it's easy.
Okay, so can we start?
A pen, pencil, exercise book.
Wait, that's so fast. Okay, so I'm counting.
Okay.
You mentioned pen.
Pen,
Uh-huh.
pencil,
Uh-huh.
notebook,
Okay.
chalk,
Okay.
duster,
Okay.
fun,
Okay.
the floor,
Okay.
the door,
Okay.
the teacher.
Is a teacher a thing?
Sorry?
Is teacher a thing?
Oh, 10 things.
Okay.
Okay. No, the teacher is not a thing.
Okay.
The duster? Have I said the duster?
Yeah, you said that.
I said the duster.
Yeah.
I said the chalk.
Yeah.
Bell?
I can see signals behind me, though I can't see my back. Okay, Bill. Your 60 seconds is up.
I can
So
imagine.
you got 9 out of 10.
I got 9 out of 10. Oh,
But
wow.
if you are giving you extra time, do you know the last one? Do you find in a classroom? I mean, that's the most common one we usually see.
Table.
No, the cane.
Oh, the cane!
Yeah, the cane. Unless maybe you went to a DV school. All right. So I get to raise the green card because 9 over 10 is more like,
Okay.
yeah, excellent. So KSM is a good student. All right. Okay. So it's been an interesting time with you. Thank you so much for, honoring our invitation to be on the Career Trail. It is a pleasure to, sit here with you and also listen to your story. And so wrapping up, what advice will you give to young people regarding career path, educational advice, anything you want to say?
I think the only thing I can say is make sure that you are prepared. Whatever it is, always put yourself in a state of being prepared. When they say somebody was somewhere, oh, this person came to the right place at the right time, there's nothing like that. The only thing that makes it the right place and the right time was that they were prepared for the opportunity. Sometimes you get the opportunity and you realize you're not prepared.
Okay.
And it's not because you got there at the wrong time. You got there at the right time, but you are not prepared. So prepare, be prepared in life
Okay.
for anything that is ahead of you, so that when the opportunity comes, you are ready.
Okay. And that was KSM right there giving us our motivational message of the day. Make sure you're always prepared because opportunity can come at any time, but it all dwells on your preparedness, whether you are prepared to embrace that opportunity. Thank you so much, KSM. This has been the Career Trail on Joy Learning TV and JoyNews. My name is Irene Adubea Aning. I leave you with today's quote.
The Career Trail. Your success journey begins here.